Hello and welcome to our brand new show, Climbing Science. I'm Morgan, and along with my climbing cameraman Ben, we'll be putting climbing gear through a series of scientific and slightly less scientific tests to see which is the best climbing gear on the market for you guys at home. This is our gear testing shed of science. It's going to be our base for the series and the home of all things climbing testing. On today's show, we're going to be taking a look at what could be considered as one of the most difficult purchases to make: the intermediate climbing shoe. We've got 3 of the best intermediate climbing shoes on the market here, and we're going to be putting them through their paces to see which of these bad boys can handle the heat. But before we jump into the tests, let's figure out which of you climbers out there might want to consider an intermediate shoe, and what that means for the shoes themselves. I've seen the likes of Ondra and Magos crushing it in their elite 10 sizes too small shoes. You might be tempted to go and buy yourself a pair of the top shoes on the market and squeeze your little feet into them. This might seem like your best bet at climbing V10, but hold your horses. You wouldn't really go and buy a Lamborghini straight after your first Honda Jazz, would you? No, probably not. And it's the same with climbing shoes. That elite pair of shoes might look amazing, but in reality they're probably going to be quite expensive and very painful. We believe you should go for an intermediate climbing shoe first. Something like one of the 3 models we handily have here. So we're going to be conducting 3 tests. First, an edging test. This is super important when you're looking for an intermediate climbing shoe because it needs to give you that support on smaller footholds. Second, we're going to go for a comfort test because we all know a comfy foot is a happy foot after all. And finally, a brutal durability test, which should finish our shoes off in style. First up, we're going to be testing the edging ability of our intermediate shoes. Edging is the art of standing on small footholds, and what an intermediate shoe should give you over a beginner shoe is the ability to stand on those smaller footholds with ease. So, that being said, let's get on with our first test. Good morning and welcome to Lake Windermere. Now, Mr. Pilcher sent me to these exact coordinates to conduct our edging test, but I'm not exactly sure what climbing edging has to do with water. Oh, this might explain it. Good morning, Climbing Science Show. So, Mr. Pilcher wants us to stand on the edge of that pier unsupported for 5 seconds on the smallest edge possible. He's asked us to make up a measuring board of truth to record it all. He says, unless you can stand on the smallest 1/4 centimetre, you're going for a splash. Well, let's get on with the first test. Health and safety. Three, 2, 1, go. So after the first test at 2 centimetres, all 3 shoes look to be doing relatively well, but can they handle a 1 centimetre? Let's see. 1. That's a 1 centimetre test, and we've had our first casualty, the last Sportiva Katana. Couldn't quite make it through the 1 centimetre, but the Vaporvia and Naiad are still going strong. Let's see how they fare at 1/2 centimetre. Hey, it's not bad. 1/2 centimetre and splasheroni. We've had our first splash and it's the 510 Naiad that's gone. Surprisingly, it's the Vapor V that's still clinging on in there. Can it make 1/4 centimetre? Let's see. 3, 2, 1, go. 5, 4, 3. Quarter of a centimetre and Scarpa Vapor V have finally met their end. Still an impressive win for the Scarpa shoe. So let's get back to the studio to put those results on our results board. Now we're back in the studio and we've had a chance to dry off and wash ourselves off from the dirty pond. It's time to put the results from test 1 onto the board. Rather controversially, we're going to be scoring our 3 shoes in exactly the same style as the Olympic format. So from 1st to 3rd, each of our shoes is going to get a score of 1, 2 or 3. They will get a score for each of the 3 tests we do, then come the end they're going to get an overall score of the multiplication of their edging, comfort and durability tests together. The lower the score, the better the shoe has done. First up, the La Sportiva Katana. Now I thought this was in with a shout of winning the test with a full length stiff rubber midsole and a stiff toe box, making this shoe seem like a bit of an edging beast on paper. But after standing on the 2 centimetres quite comfortably, me and Ben did quite a few takes where I tried to stand up on the 1 centimetre but just couldn't make it for the full 5 seconds. It didn't feel that secure underfoot. Quite a disappointing 3rd place. Next up, the Scarpa Vapor V. Shockingly, the overall winner of the test. Now, I really didn't think a shoe that lacked that full length rubber midsole would stand a chance against these 2 esteemed edging beasts. But actually, once we got to the test and past 1 centimetre edge size, it really started to excel. The edge of the shoe is really stiff and that toe box really started to dial it in when the edge started getting really small. I could even nearly stand on for the 1/4 centimetre, but actually got to about 3 seconds before I fell in. Either way, super impressed with the Vapor V. It's an overall 1 on the results standings. Finally, we're on to the 510 Naiad. You're killing me, man. For a shoe with such great edging heritage, I really expected peak performance out of this shoe. But actually, since the switch to Adidas, they really seem to have taken on a different profile in their shoes. It's a lot higher profile over the toe box, and this really didn't allow me to get a really secure purchase when it got to the smaller holes. Sure, on the 2 and 1 centimetre edges, it was quite secure because it's got a really stiff rubber midsole, but actually, once we got down to the smaller edge sizes, the Scarpas felt way more secure. So, 2nd overall in the test, let's pop it on the results. And now, for a bit of scientific lowdown on each of these 3 shoes, we're going to head to midsole Melvin. Midsoles. Midsoles are the middle part of the shoe that connect the toe box at the front of the shoe and a heel cup at the back of the shoe. Originally invented for stiff mountaineering boots at the end of the 19th century, we see traditional shoe models like the Katana and the Naiad still opt for that full-length stiff rubber platform to give them support on smaller edges. Meanwhile, we have shoes like the Scarpa Vapor V, which use more contemporary technologies like that full-length rubber platform but with a thinner section in the middle to give them more sensitivity on overhanging terrain. And with that, that's midsole Melvin out, and it's back to the boys at the mysterious location of test number 2. Hello and welcome to the site of test number 2. Now, Mr. Pilcher sent us here to perform a comfort test, and he's asked that we wear running kit, but I'm not exactly sure why. This might explain it. Okay, so Mr. Pilcher wants us to run an obstacle course in the 3 shoes, taking an exact time for each. He's asked that we keep the shoes clean so that he can resell them on to EpicTV customers at a later date, but we'll see about that.
Hello there and welcome to the commentary team pitch side. He's on the starting line looking relatively fresh, and it's set and go, and he's off down that first sprint straight. Oh, he's looking very speedy here, especially in that La Sportiva shoe. Zoom down to the first obstacle. It's into the cow poo pool now. Oh, splash! Oh, that looks really nasty. That 510 shoe really struggling to get out there. And now we're through onto the precision section. The sexy steps on each shoe making it look absolutely great. Down onto the Olympic rings, and it's hoppity hop through there. Very neat and tidy. Now we're on to the hoop de hoop. Oh, and he's got that stuck there on the 510 shoe. Will that slow him down? The Scarpa shoe's picking up pace as we enter the final section, the hurdles. Super speedy. Oh my God, hoppity hop. And we're down onto that final straight for a mad dash down towards the finishing line. They're all looking neck and neck. Oh, and he's across. Oh my God, he looks knacker. Is that the shoes or is that his fitness? We'll see. It's back to the studio.
Back in the studio after the comfort test, and we're ready to put the results onto our results board. Now, each of the shoes took a bit of a battering in that comfort test, and they all look a little bit worse for wear. But just how well did each of them do? First on test was a Katana, and it's had last again for the La Sportiva shoe. Having felt quite comfortable to begin with, that low volume and that narrow fit really meant that as the run progressed and I went through the precision technical stage of the middle of the run, I started to develop cramp and got quite a lot of pain in the end of my toes just before the crucial hurdle section. So it's a 3 on the standings for the Katana. Next up, it's the Scarpa Vapor V, and unsurprisingly, another win for the Scarpa shoe. That lack of a full-length stiff rubber midsole really meant the shoe could flex and bend as I was running, making it really comfortable. One thing to note is that over the other two shoes, the Scarpa has a much more padded tongue, making it really comfortable when you crank those straps really tight over the top of the shoe. So, overall, another 1 on the standings for the Scarpa. Last up, it's the Naiad, narrowly pipped to the post by the Scarpa. Quite comfortable to run in, quite a lot of volume on top of the toes, but actually that stiff midsole made it quite difficult to run effectively. And with Adidas's running heritage, you might have expected the 510 to do a little bit better. So 2 again for the 510 shoe. So it looks like first place is pretty much sewn up, but second place is still all to play for. Let's see what Mr. Pilcher has in store for the third and final test. Oh, hello there. You've caught me outside our studio catching a bit of that vitamin D they're all on about. Well, incidentally, this is a site of test number 3, and I'm sat here awaiting some instructions from Mr. Pilcher. Ah, Mr. Groom. I see Hugo Pilcher sending envoys with his letters now. So, Mr. Pilcher wants us to conduct a brutal durability test, and well, I've got some ideas about main events, but I think before we get on to that, we should soften our shoes up a little bit.
Groom, give it back! Come on, Matt, I'll tell you later. Give it back!
Now we've wrestled the shoes off Mr. Groom, we can get back on with that main event. So, the third and final test, our ultimate trial of durability, a burn test. Now, we thought a burn test would be the best way to test the overall durability of our shoes. We hope it might test the build quality of things like its upper, its glue, its straps and its rubber. Now, how are we going to do it? So, we're going to burn each of our 3 shoes all in one for 2 minutes, and like any good barbecue, we're going to flip them halfway through. Oh, and don't try this at home. The moment we've all been waiting for. Here it goes. Oh. Right, go. Flip these puppies. They smell so bad. Ah!
This thing's cooking. Minutes. Right, take them off, quick, go. Oh, we're gonna take them off, Whoa, they are cooking. How'd you like yours, sir, with onions?
So after 2 minutes on the fire, we've got our first set of results, and surprisingly, the Vapor V is really falling to bits here, but the other two shoes seem to be doing relatively well. The straps on the back of all of the shoes seem to have completely singed, but the uppers and the rubber all holding up fairly well so far, so I reckon they've got a lot of life left in them yet. So, I reckon we should put them back on, only this time, I think we should add a bit of a treat. Mum's hairspray. Oh yes, look at that. Give them a good old coating.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, now we've coated them in a bit of something special, I'm quite worried to see what happens here, so I'm going to stand back and put the Vapor V on first. Okay, no surprises yet. Let's go for the katana. Oh, lovely. Look at this. It looks like a nice Christmassy fire. And then 510 iron. Let's give them a bit of a shake. We're going to do the same as last time and give them a good old barbecue flip in the middle. Oh, heck. Oh, we've got flames. No, the katana.
Well, that got out of hand. But on with the first impressions. First thing I notice is the shoes smell absolutely horrendous, and well, if I was going to walk through fire anytime soon, I definitely wouldn't pick an Italian or a Vibram-soled shoe, with both the La Sportiva and the Scarpa taking considerable damage. The shoe I would pick, however, is the 510 Naiad. Finally, our Steady Eddie has won a test at last. But to find out why I'd walk through fire in this shoe, let's take a closer look at the damage to find out more. So, first up, we're going to be taking a look at our Italian shoes, the La Sportiva and the Scarpa. Both seem to have suffered relatively similar fates. On top, we can see the strap and the heel tabs are both completely incinerated, and on the bottom of the shoe, the Vibram rubber sole units have expanded and cracked. Something quite interesting for rubber, given it's a polymer. You'd expect at higher temperatures the rubber would contract, but actually that just goes to show how hot the fire was. The Scarpa seems to have come out slightly worse than the La Sportiva shoe, with that delicate midsole region completely melting, and the top of the shoe with that padded tongue getting completely singed. So it's a third place for the Scarpa and a well-earned second for the La Sportiva. And lastly, on to the 510 Naiad. As we can see by the unburnt shoe here, the 510 shoe's taken little to no damage at all. The only damage of significance is a little bubble in the rubber here on the bottom of the shoe, and well, the heel tabs have taken a bit of a roasting, but again, very impressive from the 510 shoe, and with the 510 the clear winner, let's see why that leaves our shoes in the final standings. And the final results are in. Drum roll, please. And it's third place on the standings for our La Sportiva Katana. An old dog but with no new tricks. A very disappointing third place for the Italian shoe. In second place, the 510 Naiad, a real steady Eddie throughout all three of our tests, and it's definitely a shoe I'd recommend if you're going on a firewalk anytime soon. But none of the shoes are as impressive as our overall winner, the Scarpa Vapor V. Super impressive throughout all three tests, winning 2 of them. This shoe has our Climbing Science stamp of approval. So, that wraps up intermediate climbing shoes. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see what we do next. And why don't you leave a comment down below to let us know which climbing gear you'd like to see us test next. See you next time on the Climbing Science Show. Oh, do you think Hugo really wants his shoes back?